Alrighty. So we're going to start seated. And you're not required to sit in a Sukhasana. I call it the not so easy pose. You can sit in Varasana in kneeling or in a chair if that's more comfortable for you. However, as you find your seat, maybe just kind of wiggle out the spine a little bit laterally from side to side. And we're going to find the connection from the sacrum all the way down to your coccyx, which is often called the tail, all the way up through the spine to the crown, which is your sense of up. And you can rest your hands wherever it feels comfortable on your thighs, or if you like to take a Dhyani mudra, that's cupping the hands, resting one hand on top of the other. The thumbs come together to connect. And it's a Zen mudra in imagining emptiness in our hands. Lowering the gaze over the nose, but keeping the eyes open slightly. Begin to observe your breath coming in through the nose and out through the nose. With each inhale, as you breathe in through the nose, the breath is warming up. And with each exhale, it's a slight letting go. As you observe your breath, notice where the breath flows naturally in your body. And try to find a soft breath, one that's not forced. Become aware of your right lung and breathe into your right lung. Shift your awareness into your left lung. We'll be taking a round of 5 breaths in and out through the nose. And find your right hip bone and breathe into your right hip. You may even be aware of your pelvic bowl that's formed through the pelvis. You can breathe into the right pelvic bowl as well. Shift your awareness into the left hip bone, left pelvic bowl. And find your heart and take the breath into your heart. So we're going to bring one hand just below our belly and second chakra and one hand on top of the heart, connecting. And think of your breath as a 3D quality, so you feel movement through the spine with the inhale. And a softening of the lower ribs on the exhale. And tune into an intention for your practice today. Drawing the palms together up to the third eye and set that intention. Then we're going to switch into Nadi Showdown breathing. You're going to use a thumb and your pointy finger on your nostrils. And we're going to start with closing off the left nostril first. Breathe in through the nose. Close off the right nostril, then open up the left and breathe out. Now in through the left. Close it off. Exhale out through the right. And continue that alternate nostril breathing. Nice, and complete your current repetition. And then come back to full inhales and exhales. We're going to transition onto our backs. So if you're sitting on I'm sitting on a prop. You can just get that prop out of the way. We're going to go through a lot of basic poses that I use so that everybody knows how to do them. So lower down in bent knee position. If you need support behind your head, feel free to add an extra blanket if you have that. And this is restorative rest, which is a kind of a place to come back to. And with the bent knees, we're not creating as much strain on the low back and the lumbar tissue that has a lot of sensory nerves in it. And we're going to go into yes and no movement with the jaws. So we have the mandible and the maxilla, the two aspects of the jaw bones. And so just take your fingertips and feel your lower jawbone. So you have a sense of it all the way up to right here, which is known as a temporal mandibular joint. So if you open and close your mouth, you have a sense of that joint space. Become aware of the upper part of your mouth, the inside, the hard palate as well. And we're going to lead the yes movement with the hard palate first and let the jawbone follow second. So take your fingertips on your jaw. You're in a neutral neck and lift up with an inhale, the upper hard palate, and hold your jaw back for a moment. Then allow it to release and follow. And then as you tuck, lead with the hard palate, not the jawbone. And then let the jaw follow second. So you can use your hands here to help you find that, resisting the jaw on the inhale. Exhale, lead with the hard palate, and then let the jaw come second. You don't need your hands there. If you have that somatic awareness, you can let them rest. Eyes can be closed right now. As you tuck through the yes, lengthen the back of your neck. If you want to add your eyeballs, which are the headlights of the fascia, you can look up with the eyeballs on the inhale and look down on the exhale. If it's too much to add the eyeballs, just focus on leading with the hard palate, not the jawbone. Do a couple more repetitions of yes movement. Become aware of your whole body and how it's changing through the movement. And soften into neutral. Take a moment, look around the room, look to the upper left with your eyeballs, and track your eyes across the ceiling and look all the way to the right. And track back all the way through the ceiling with the eyeballs and look to the left. Become aware of your periphery and switch back and look all the way to the right. Good. Soften back to a neutral. Soften the back of your neck. And then we're just going to turn the head into no movement to the right, bringing your right cheek into the floor. You can close your eyes here, allowing the breath to come in and out through the nose, and allowing the base of your nose to widen. Allow your jaw to be relaxed. And then inhale, slowly turn your head, track the back of your skull on the mat and turn to the left. Left cheek melts into the floor. And it's an allowing of the breath flowing in through the nose and out through the nose. And slowly turn the head back up to neutral. You can look around with the eyeballs a little bit, see where you're at. And then we're going to explore our spines next. So the sacrum, the tail, will be the beginning of the movement. I got a helper now. And we're going to move through all the segmentation of the spine up through the neck, the cervical vertebra. So with an inhale, reach through your coccyx and move really slow so that you can feel the segmentations of the sacrum. It's originally like 32 to 36 individual bones that ossify in growth. But maybe you can just feel the 5 segmentations and begin to arc through the low back. And let's just stop there for a moment. Now draw the lumbars, the vertebra, the low back down into your mat and reach the coccyx, the tail, towards the ceiling. Tuck through your chin a little bit. So we'll find this like reclining cat-cow baby kind of movement. Inhale, arc through the coccyx towards the earth. Feel your full sacrum, the sacred bone. Then the 5th lumbar that stacks right on top of your sacrum is going to arc up towards the ceiling. Then all the other lumbars. And if you want to take it through the thoracic spine, feel free to do that. You'll be looking up with your eyeballs. And then exhale, you're going to tuck through your chin, bringing each vertebra back down into the mat. And then we'll inhale again, reaching the tail towards the earth, arc through the low back. Just feel your way through the vertebra all the way up. Look up with your eyeballs. Allow the breath to come in. And then we'll tuck through the chin in yes movement, dropping the vertebra down into the earth. You can even come into a neutral in the sacrum. Then play with that for a few rounds. You're like a little kidney being floating in a uterus in your mom, growing yourself, flexion and extension. All your fascia is actually already there. The blueprint, the matrix. Keep exploring the eyeball part too, because as you inhale and move up, your eyeballs are going to be the leaders, and your body's going to follow the guidance of the eyeballs. And like I said earlier, it's the headlights of the fascia. And look down as you tuck your chin. A couple more rounds, just checking into the segmentation of the spine, spinal cord, which is filled with the cerebral spinal fluid, has a lot of life force in it. Come to neutral. We're going to take an Vipassana just to stretch out our low backs. Draw the knees to the chest. I'm going to have you yoke your feet, which is bringing the feet into dorsiflexion instead of just floppy. So really activate the back line of the legs, the superficial back line that we'll work on next week. Tuck through your chin. Breathe in and out through the nose. Maybe hug a little bit more. And take a big inhale in. As you exhale, push your knees into your hands and resist with your hands as you lift out of your low back a little bit here. And then relax that down. Now we're just going to wiggle. We're going to rock around a little bit, massage the back body. You can alternate knees, moving around from side to side. I'm a huge fan of wiggling. The fascia likes to be wiggled. And come back to restorative rest. We're going to check in with our hip joints a little bit. With the right leg, this is just windshield wiping. As you inhale, you're going to drop your right knee out and fill up your breath all the way up into the belly. And then exhale, draw that knee back up and slightly medial. Again, inhale, rock out with the right leg. Come onto the outside of your right foot, pinky toe side. And inhale, bring that back up. Sorry, exhale, bring it up. And then we'll inhale, drop open, fill up the belly. And exhale, bring that up. Two more rounds. Then we'll switch sides. With an inhalation, dropping the left leg out, coming onto the pinky side of the foot. As you exhale, you could draw your navel back towards the spine, finding your core engagement, dropping the knee medially. And then again, inhale, dropping open. And exhale, bring that back up. And we'll continue that movement 3 more times. And coming back into neutral, we're going to take two-legged pose, which is Dvipadipedam. You're going to reach your fingertips towards your heels. And this is like bridge pose, but we're not going to create the arcing in the upper back. And with the version that we're doing right now is really going to isolate the spine a little bit, especially sacrum to lumbars, the 5 lower vertebrae. So just as in that reclining cat-cow, take a round of that. So inhale, reach your tail towards the earth, look up, then exhale, draw the tops of the hips down and back, tuck through your chin. Now maintain that. Then we're going to inhale, we're going to pick the pelvis and the sacrum off the ground, reaching through your knees straight ahead, and just come up as far as you feel comfortable. You could just take it up through the lumbars to test. And then we're going to exhale. We're going to re-drape the vertebra one at a time. So I went up to my T6, 6th thoracic vertebra. I'm lowering down. And then allowing the sacrum to rest on the floor. So find your feet. Pick up with an inhale. Rise on up. Shoot through the knees straight forward to engage your erector spinae muscles, the long strat muscles of the back body. And exhale, lower down. And relax the sacrum when you come all the way back down. And again, inhale. If you want to take it up a little bit further, feel free to do that. Just work with your own body. Exhale, lower down. Dvipadipedam, two-legged pose, helps separate the sacrum from the hip bones a little bit. Creates a disassociation, a good kind of disassociation, so that people aren't locked in their low backs. And it gives the sacrum back to the spine where it belongs. And continue that movement with your breath, exploring. We'll get into more particulars in the future. If you do have discomfort in your low back, I recommend not doing this. Just go ahead and do knees to chest and maybe a regular cat-cow. And complete one more. And then we're going to drop the knees out to the right. Counter twist with your head, look out to the left. You can be loosey-goosey with your arms. Breathe into your low back. Then inhale, pick the knees up to center and switch directions. Drop them out to the left, Look to the right. Allowing the breath to fill up. Exhale completely out, softening the lower ribs. And inhale, bring the knees back up and slowly just drag out one leg at a time. We're going to take a pencil stretch, reach the arms up overhead. And we're going to turn this more into a wiggle and jiggle and yawning exercise. So just take a couple big yawns. And as you're yawning, you can reach out with your left hand and left foot, slight dorsiflexion. And then do the same thing with the right. And just take a few more yawns, resetting the vagus nerve. And then we'll come back to bent knee position. And then we're just going to roll onto our right sides. And this move is from one of my teachers, Mary Bond. And it comes from original movement, which is really working more with how we learn how to move the fascia with our eyeballs. So imagine that you're a little baby and you're just starting to learn how to move your muscles around. And you're going to use your eyeballs to create the movement. And we're going to be grounding and flopping back and forth. So you lead with your eyeballs. You're going to take it and look overhead. So don't push yourself to the left side. Just really follow your eyeballs and get curious to what's on the other side. And just allow your body to follow that. And then you kind of flop. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. Lead with the eyeballs, let your head follow. And maybe your shoulders, your thorax, your hips will follow afterwards, but the eyes lead the movement. And then flop. And then we'll continue that, leading with the eyeballs. Stay curious. Moving from side to side. Hi, Kiki. So you can imagine if you had like a highly stressful day and you kind of needed to ground, the flopping is a good grounding technique. Awesome. Next time you come onto your right side, just cradle your head in reclining child's pose for a few moments. Close your eyes. Breathe in and out through the nose. take a moment to come back to the intention you set for your practice. Allowing the breath to fill up the skin, your fascia. And to come on up, we're going to try to bring our head up last. And to do that, you plant your left hand. You're going to extend out through the top leg and restack the spine really slowly. I have a lot of help today. Let's just come on up in Varasana. If you need a block to sit on in Varasana, you can slip it right between your heels and just sit on top of that. We'll just take a few moments here to take some more pranayama, some more meditative breaths. We're going to do some pre-test for some neurovascular release work for the neck today. And the first one is just to tuck through the chin and start to roll down through your upper thorax. And then we're going to come back up, slowly rolling through the upper vertebra. And do that again. And we're just mostly tuning into the quality of the tissue, the bones. Noticing if there's any segmentation that feels tight. And then soften your right ear to your right shoulder. Not stretching anything yet. We're just feeling what's my natural range of motion. And I feel a little restriction on the outside of the neck. Coming back up and then soften out to the other side. And then turn to the right without forcing any change. And then turn to the left and just notice what your natural range of motion is. If you need to do that again, just to kind of feel it in your body. Beautiful. Right. So with neurovascular release, we're really stretching the arteries and the nerves. And in that, we don't want to do a forced stretch. We're going to be really gentle. So to find that, take your shirt that you're wearing and put your thumb about 2 inches apart, the two thumbs, and then slacken the tissue in between. And then we're going to start to stretch and pull the thumbs apart. And as soon as you feel the stretch, in the fabric, that's as much as we're going to be stretching with this. So this is a little humbling for those of us who I learned like Iyengar yoga and have done like really forceful stretches in our practices. Okay. We're going to use the sternum, the breastbone here, as an anchor for the arteries that go up through the neck and the back of the neck that we're going to open up right now. So you're going to stack your hands a little bit like the Addams family, so that you're just kind of anchoring the weight on your sternum. And let's start with the first movement. We're just going to lift up with our chin. Take a breath in. And breathe on out. And then we're going to tuck through the chin. Breathe in. And breathe out. We're going to come back to neutral. We're going to take the hands off the sternum and just slowly just tuck through your chin. This is a retest. Notice if you feel any difference in this movement. And come back up. Now we're going to work the other side. So come back, bring the hands on top of the sternum. It's a slight weight. We're going to turn to the right. We're going to take the ear that's towards the camera, lift it up, and imagine a little helium balloon with a string tied to your left ear, floating the head up slightly. Take a breath in. Breathe on out. And just allow your head to float back up to top. Come back out to neutral. Release the hands. And we're going to retest. We're going to turn to the right. Notice your ease and range of motion. If there's any change, for me, I can turn with more ease to the right. And then turn all the way to the left and see if there was any change there. And then come back to neutral. We're going to put our hands on our chest again. We're going to do the opposite side. We're going to turn to the left. That helium balloon tied to your right ear towards the camera is going to float up. Breathe in. And breathe on out. Allow the top of your head to float back up. Come back to center. Release the hands. And then we're going to retest. So turn to the left and turn to the right. And just notice your natural range of motion. We have a third one we're going to do together. Stack your hands back on the breastbone, cradle and anchor. We're going to turn to the right. And this time the ear that's away from the camera is going to float up. So you're tilting your head towards the camera. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale on out. And then float the head back up. Come back to a center. Release the hands and turn and test again. So now I have more range of motion to the right, not so much on the left. Come back to center. Stack the hands again. Let's turn all the way to the left. Let the ear away from the camera float up. Take a breath in. Breathe on out. Allow the top of your head to float up. Come back to neutral, release the hands, and then retest, turn to the left. So I have more range of motion with ease, and then turn the opposite direction. Now come back, tuck through the chin, rolling through the cervical vertebra, the vertebra of the neck, and the upper thorax. And come back up and see if you have a little bit more ease through those vertebrae. And do that one more time. Just integrate that in. And coming back up. Good. It's going to take a slight twist through the thorax. Bring a hand behind us. And bring the left arm onto the outside of the right quadricep. And just twist between the shoulder blades. And if you want to add the neck, bring that in. You can send your eyeballs behind you. And slowly unwind, and then we'll switch sides, bringing the right arm across to the left side. You can bring the other arm right behind you. My palm is on my sacrum, on my low back. Start with a twist between the shoulder blades first, and then explore gazing out over, sending the eyeballs behind you. And then exhale, slowly come on out. We're going to come off out of Varasana and find a child's pose that feels good for you. So I like to explore sits bone, the base of the pelvis, onto the heels first, and then kind of crawl forward like a tree frog. If your hamstrings are tight and your butt needs to be up in the air, that's fine. You can grab a block and support your third eye. Or you can even use the bolster for support right out in front of you, which is also a real sweet way to work with Balasasana, child's pose, because then you get that mirroring in the heart and you just turn your head to one side. Close your eyes. Stay with a soft breath in through the nose and out through the nose. You can allow the breath to come into your heart. And take the breath into your back body, around the lower ribs, into kidneys, allowing a reset. If you're using a bolster, turn your head to the opposite direction. We're going to slowly transition from Balasasana, child's pose, into a Shavasana, coming onto our backs. If you do have a bolster, you can use it to prop underneath your knees. That's a preference for you. So in Shavasana and corpse's pose, we're going to try to not fall asleep. Again, if you have any discomfort in your low back, I highly recommend supporting the knees so that you don't have to carry that strain. Arms rest out to the side. Find a neutral neck. If you need to wiggle around a little bit to find out what's comfortable, feel free to do that. And we're going to close our eyes, staying with a natural breath, inhaling through the nose and out through the nose. And just be aware of your body, scan it, notice what feels good in your body, and name it in your mind's eye. Continue to allow the brain to focus on what feels useful and helpful and alive in the body. And wiggle out the toes and the fingers, especially if you've done a little astral traveling. We'll slowly transition to come up to a comfortable seat so you can roll onto your right side again, bringing the head up last. If you have a bolster, you can move it out of the way. And we'll just come back together as a group to